It's a weather war in week 4. Sand, sun, ice, all battled out for supremacy. Who will come out on top? Yes, Hayden, you are in danger. We also got upsets. Episode 4 of PokeCentre starts right now. Hello everyone, I hope you brace yourself with the Focus Sash because episode 4 of PokeCentre is going to come and hit you hard. Welcome everyone to the show. I'm Douglas Evans, joined as always by my co-host, Calvin Roitt. Calvin, how you doing?
I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm ready to kick some ass. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. We had another great week in this Commander Draft Tournament Season 7 here. We had some upsets, we had weather wars, we had all kinds of great stuff. We're going to get right into it, all the highlights and everything. But as you know, just like every week, we start with talking about trades. And this week was no different. A lot of trades happened this week, and we're going to get all into it right now. And let's kick things off. Let's talk about, in the Sword Division, Paul traded his Tier 5 Kangaskhan for a Savali Water. What do you make of that trade?
Well, I'm a little on the negative side with this trade, but I'm not sure about that. Kangaskhan was a pretty cool Pokemon. It has a lot of good coverage options, and it's a pretty powerful normal type. With the base 90 speed stat, it's actually able to be a pretty significant threat underneath the sticky webs on the opposite side of the field that his team grants. But I guess it is a little underpowered with that base 90 attack stat, so it's not the best threat to have under sticky webs. But I don't see how Savali Water is going to do any better. Perhaps this is more of a response to having a different defogger and maybe more momentum on his team. But I think I would have liked to see something a little harder hitting or maybe a rapid spinner of some sort. So I'm going to say I'm neutral on this one.
All right, so keeping things going here. In the Sword Division, we have Sean also did a trade. He traded a Tier 5 Ninjask for a Basculin. What do you think of that one?
I'm pretty neutral on this one as well. There's some positives and negatives to this trade. Ninjask is a very great Pokemon, especially in a low-tier draft like this. It's typically a weaker Pokemon, but, you know, there's a lot of weak Pokemon in this tournament, so it can actually stand out. And with its ability to be the absolute king of speed control, with its natural crazy high speed stat. On top of that, having speed boost, this thing is always going to be the fastest thing on the field. And with heavy duty boots, it's even easier than ever to have this thing work in a battle. But on the flip side, Basculin has a lot to offer as well. It's not the fastest, but it hits very hard. It's got decent coverage. It's got flip turn. It's got priority and Aqua Jet. And its abilities, like I said, Mold Breaker is a very cool option, and adaptability, boosting those water stab. The only issue with Basculin being on Sean's team is that this is primarily a Sun team, and he's already got Quagsire, who isn't really negatively affected by the Sun, more like where Basculin is, because it's offensively trying to be a member on the team. So in that instance, I'm a little mixed on this trade.
Alrighty. Well, keeping things going. Those are trades in the Sword Division, but Shield Division, not left behind either. We also had Ross. He did 2 trades. Let's start things off with this Tier 4. He traded a Miss Magus for a Passimian. What do you think?
Okay, so Miss Magus, I think Ross is trying to change things up as far as his style of his team. He's wanting to move away from setup Pokemon and go more for momentum. And Passimian is great at that. With U-Turn and with its very strong attack stat, this Pokemon is able to U-Turn, utilize powerful close combats, be a deterrent to intimidates, defogs, and it also gets really good coverage moves like Rock Slide, Gunk Shot, etc. So I think this is if you're looking at it from his perspective, I think this is a positive. Even though Miss Magius was a great Pokemon and it has good coverage, good speed tier, just where Ross wants to go with his team, Pissimian's an upgrade.
Awesome. And like I said, Ross did 2 trades this week, so his second trade that he did a Tier 5 Barbacle for a Clawitzer. Tell me.
Well, it's pretty much the same as I said before. He wants to change up the game plan of his team. Barbarical has to stay in, set up a shell smash, and then start putting in work. Clawitzer has nothing to do with that. It's a bit slower, it's a bit tankier, but he's losing out on that 4 times weakness, which is in his favor, and it's going to hit immediately harder with the Mega Launcher. He can slap a Choice Specs, Life Orb, Expert Belt, Scarf, whatever you want on it. This thing's going to be an immediate threat, and it also gets flip turn, U-turn, I believe. So it's going to work with the momentum aspect of his team as well, which for him, that's a plus.
Perfect. And to finish things off with the trades this week, Zeb traded a Tier 5 Haunter for Electrode.
Yeah, in the Ross's analysis on Zeb's team, he mentioned how he thought Haunter was the weaker aspect of his team, and I did agree with him on that, and Zeb did too. He wanted something a little bit faster for some speed control and extra options, and Electrode is all of that. It is base 150 speed. That is absolutely amazing. This Pokemon is never going to have to run timid. This thing is always going to be running modest. And, well, hey, it might not even need to run modest to be offensive. It can run screens, which for his team is great. Pokemon like Torterra who want to do double dance setup sweeps. Pokemon like Drampa who want to Calm Mind. These are the Pokemon that are going to love the assistance granted by Electrode setting up screens. And as we saw in last season from William's use of Electrode, Electrode is not a one-trick pony. This Pokemon gets Taunt. This Pokemon gets Foul Play. There's a lot of tricks. Honestly, I am super excited to see what Zeb does with Electrode.
That is awesome. And that wraps up all the trades for this week. We'll have to keep an eye on how those work out in the coming weeks and what other trades are made in the weeks to follow, as we're kind of getting into the middle mix of this tournament here. But enough about trades, and I think it's time to get in some highlights. Let's get right into it here. Starting off today in the Shield Division, it's going to be Sun against Ice. Brian taking on the number 1 seed, Jonas.
Brian would definitely show his inexperience in this match. Turn 1. Psychic Trade looks like it could be a good bring here, but unfortunately, with Prankster on the Meowstic, it's going to work against him. His Thunder Waves are going to be completely useless, and I'm not sure he clued in whether it failed or if it missed the first time there. Really just wasted this entire Meowstic set, which could have been useful for later. But Brian was not going to show that he was totally out of the fight. Turn 10 here, he makes a great play and goes for Body Press, which absolutely destroys the Aurorus, giving Brian the upper hand in the Weather Wars. It forces Jonas's hand early and makes it so that he has to use the Arctozolt way sooner than he should have. This works in Brian's favor because Pokemon like Dusknoir are at full health and can take at least one hit and dish out very good chip against the Arctozolt. This also means Torkoal can come in, shows its dominance with the Sun, and takes the Arctozolt out. Awesome. Not saying I'm rooting against Jonas here, but I'm glad to see Brian's doing great. So, as you see here, Victreebel is a huge threat, but at this point, Brian sacks it, which is very unfortunate because the Torkoal should have been sacked instead to ensure the Sun was up, so that the Victreebel's double speed could have won the game with a late game sweep. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, and Jonas gets another win here.
Next up, it's Jared against Simon.
This was an absolutely phenomenal game this week for Simon. He really showed that he's improving as a player, going from a novice to competing at a high level against a player like Jared. And we see with plays like this, switching the Palisand into a Volt switch from the Jolteon. Simple plays, but it shows that like someone who would have passively stayed in with an Empoleon is now considering making smarter switches and such.
Yeah, Calvin, and I know last week you were a little lukewarm on this Golbat switch, but Simon actually does a good job with the Golbat here. Gets a nasty plot in and gets some good damage on the Mesprit and the Jolteon as well.
Yeah, he really utilized it very well early game here as a wall-breaking kind of Golbat. I really like that because it works well with his overall end game plan, as we'll obviously see in the upcoming turns here. We were a little critical on him last week, but look at this here. Boom, Gigalith goes down, the sand is up, it's not turn 4, in fact, it's turn 24, and the Stoutland is actually going to sweep this time. Like, look at this. This dog is in. The Mach Punch, he kept it healthy so that, Mach Punch wasn't going to take it down. This Aqua Jet's not going to take it down. This is a perfectly played endgame for Simon, and I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, I think we're all super pumped for him. And it's just cool to see him pick up his first win of the season, and a big win at that. Jared also takes his first L of the season. Go lay by your dish, Jared. And up next, we got Laurel taking on Robin. Now, as we'll see, my surprise here, Laurel manages to not screw the battle up this week. She starts things off with the Hitmonlee, and sure, it's going to die early in the match, but she's going to use it to the best of its ability. It's just going to hit it, whatever's in front of it, get a bunch of damage in.
And yeah, that seems to work really well to her advantage. She got 2 very good knockoffs off. One of the Flame Orb on the Hariyama, and the other just to get rid of the leftovers on the Hypno there. Pretty good. Even here, she's got the Quillfish in, and she's just attacking what's in front of her. Robin is just over-predicting so much. He was switching around a bit, went for the Icicle Crash, anticipating a switch into the Noivern. Laurel's having none of it. She is just attacking what is in front, directly ahead of her. Now at this point, looks like, that was a bad point. The Rotom took out the Quillfish, but the Comfey's in now. And after 20 turns of healing and Toxic and Calm Minding, Laurel is at +6. And I don't see a Poison type or a Steel type. Yeah, I think Laurel's got this one in the bag, ladies and gentlemen. This Flowery Wreath is not going down. I think this is a great battle for Laurel. She really showed that, sometimes the best defense is just to not have a defense. Just play offensively. Attack what's in front of you and set up when the opportunity arises. And that's exactly what she did. She pointed out what was the best thing to set up on, and she did it. Honestly, a really great turnaround, as, Douglas mentioned earlier. She did not get swept this week. She was the one doing the sweeping.
And up next here, we have Chris taking on Ross. And holy smokes, was this match a long one. The Iron Man match of the week here, and maybe the Iron Man match of this whole tournament.
Yeah, 95 turns is definitely nothing to scoff at. Mind you, keep in mind that this is only half as long as Ross's match with Lewis last season. But anyways, getting right into the action here. Really early on, this Miltank with the Whirlpool is able to actually trap this Sandslash and eliminate it early on in the game, which is huge for Chris's game plan here. Being able to get rid of the one thing that could safely defeat the Muck. And, well, now that the Sandslash is gone, Chris doesn't waste too much time getting it set up behind the Substitute and begin cursing. This thing is an absolute threat and a monster. I was quite sure that he was just going to win right here, looking at what Ross had in the back. But with a strategic sack here, Ross is able to get the Ambipom back in, and I was thinking, he's got nothing for it. I don't know what he's doing here, but switcheroo, and now the Muck is locked into Brick Break, which means the Florges is going to be able to wall it for the time being, which would then lead, unfortunately, Ross and Chris into a very long, drawn-out stalemate for the next 40 turns. It wouldn't be until turn 82 here where Ross would finally break that stalemate with a Moonblast critical hit on the Miltank. It was looking like this game was in Chris's favor because he was stalling out the wishes, but that definitely turned the tide in Ross's favor. One last-ditch explosion here out of desperation doesn't lend Chris the final KO, and Ross comes out victorious here in this big matchup.
Yep, just so you said, it was a long match, but Ross got the win. At the end of the day, I'm sure that's all he really cares about. Next up, we got Norman taking on Reggie.
Another high-level performance on display here from Reggie's side. He really puts on a clinic this match in regards to how he plays his Talonflame and his Savali Dark. Just like this play here, a double back into the Talonflame so he can get the taunt off on the Pyukamuku. Very great prep on Reggie's part. And just his offense here with the dual wing beats. Absolutely nothing is taking this stab. And he just gets every prediction correct. Even this one here. Norman's anticipating the taunt. Nope, he's just going straight for the attack. Very phenomenal. Even the sucker punch, he's going to be able to live it and roost off the damage later. It's just, Norman had a lot of trouble getting any foothold in this match. Especially when the Savali Dark came out, like we've said before. He has a real problem with these dark types, and well, this thing was just going to outplay, and he's going to get every single prediction right and put Norman in just a terrible spot in this match.
Yeah, some good prep by Reggie here. Clearly he knew exactly what he wanted to get done, but Norman's going to take the loss in the chin here, take the 6-0 loss like a champ, and I think he's just going to take from this and hope he move on and focus on what he needs to work on going forward. Oh, Norman just quit. Oh, this got kind of awkward. I guess on to the next match. Reggie wins! And now we got Conor P taking on Zeb.
This is a really fun match. We got to see Zeb's bulky offense against Conor's hyper offense. Right off the bat, this Audino's going to go down to an unfortunate burn, but it's actually going to lend itself quite well to this Coil Centiscorch here. It's going to be able to take this knock off and stay completely healthy. And now it's just a huge threat against Zeb's team. And he did not have the proper coverage on this hit on top. Could have had a Stone Edge or something, but he's only got close combat. I'm not sure if that was a misclick or something, but it is going to go down to one Fire Lash. And the Centiscorch is going to continue setting up. Honestly looking very terrible for Zeb. But Zeb came prepared with a set that I had no idea about that this Pokemon got. It gets countered. Wow, that totally threw me through a loop. And I was shitting on that Pokemon as a trade last week. Or during Ross's video. Anyways, back to this. Conor's not giving up. He is going all offense in this match. He's set up with the Centiscorch. Now he's setting up with the Kling Klang. Unfortunately, he didn't get quite enough damage beforehand on the Torterra, but it was almost a close to a KO. He is able to knock it out there with the second follow-up shift gear. But that Glass Pod's going to show how great it is in a match like this with its priority moves. In the end, though, I think Zeb just was able to withstand Conor's offense, and just like this counter here, he was able to retaliate with double the damage right back at him.
Good win for Zeb, and I thought this match was awesome. Tons of fun to watch. Alrighty, heading over to the Sword Division, we're going to start things off with our top seed Matthew taking on Paul.
And another big win for Matthew Heater this week. He really had a dominant showing against Paul here. Especially right here with Miltank. Takes the Sap Sipper grass move, and then he makes a really great play rough prediction into the incoming Scrafty. Just a dominant showing right away. Speaking of the Lilligant, it had no chance in this game the way Paul was playing. Miltank is completely healthy with Sap Sipper. It doesn't get the best coverage moves. Really think this came down to a flaw. Just the way he's playing his team is a bit flawed. He's not utilizing his wall breakers like Tornadus early game. He's actually trying to treat them more like the sweepers and saving them to end game, which obviously a player like Matthew Heater is going to take advantage of. But he actually got a little cocky here, tried swords dancing in front of the Muck, and the Muck quickly punished him with a nice brick break. So wasn't a 6-0 for Heater, but it was still a pretty strong definitive 5-0. And hopefully in the upcoming weeks, Paul adapts his game plan a little better.
Up next, we have my favorite, Blade, taking on Florian. And right out the gate here, Blade's going to capitalize on that same momentum that he got from last week on that big win. He's going to bring in the Lot Bunny, and he's going to take out the Auroras. He's going to take out the Hoopa. He's just going to do some damage here. Down goes that Hoopa. Blade's on a roll again, bringing the Auroras. It doesn't even matter. Blade is prepared. High jump kick. It's going to nail that Auroras. Get out of here. Blade on fire once again. My God. And then the Arctazol comes in, and it's going to keep that momentum going. Right, Calvin?
Whoa, Douglas. I'm going to have to slow you down there. See, that all looked very good, but that was very well planned out by Flo. He got the maximum amount of hail turns with that. And look, he got a full 6 kill streak with that Arctazol. So I'm not so sure if it paid off for Blade there.
Well, Blade will get him next time, but I guess good win by Flo. And up next, we got my co-host Calvin taking on Lewis. Now, I know, Calvin, you're going to get into it to a second here, but let's talk about the opening moments of this match. You know, turn 14, you got the Poliwrath in there. You've got it totally prepared. You're ready to take out this Blastoise and gain the advantage in this match. But the Poliwrath is going to miss Circle Throw not once, but twice. A move with 90% accuracy. I know it's frustrating, but tell me what your thoughts are.
My thoughts are that this is complete bullshit. It's very frustrating coming fully prepared for something that you know is a huge threat to your team, and that scenario fails measurably to low odds. But Lady Luck was still a little bit on my side because I was able to dodge a Hydro Pump and get the Toxic off, which allowed me to Toxic stall the Blastoise, which is not the main way I wanted to deal with it. I was hoping to come out with this game with a very high differential to secure myself a better spot later on in the tournament in case I take a loss. But as it stands, I'm continuing to win, but with very low differential. So if I ever do take a loss, I don't think I'll potentially have a place in playoffs as it stands.
Whatever. Wah. Get over it. Carrying things on in the Sword Division here, next up we got Hayden taking on William.
And this is a highly anticipated match due to their little rivalry. Turn 1, it's all-out offense. Rock Slide from the Choice Scarf Beware doesn't knock out the Moltres, but the Moltres knocks it out with Hurricane. Turn 2, William makes a great prediction, goes for the Fire Fang, getting off critical chip damage on the Registeel, which, as we'll see, is actually great for late game. Even this turn right here, goes for the Flamethrower instead of the Earth Power, knocking out Moltres, which is also good for late game. William made every single play perfectly as far as a game plan goes. And looking at this Metagross here, well, from Hayden's perspective, yes, you are in danger. This Metagross has now set up a Rock Polish, Weakness Policy, and there's nothing left on Hayden's team to take a hit from it. That Registeel went down thanks to the prior damage from the Boltund before. And, well, this game is absolutely over. There's nothing Hayden can do in this match from here on out.
A super dominant win for William, and as we'll see later on, Metagross the top of our kill leaderboard, and this is why. Just absolute dominance. Great job by William here. Let's keep the action rolling. Next up, Sean taking on Vikram. And what do we got here? Another weather war on our hand. This time, it's sun against sand. And let me tell you, Sean, I can relate. I hate sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. Damn it.
Well, unlike you, Douglas, Sean's not afraid to get a little sandy. He's going to go attacking right away with this Electros. He does a lot of great plays with it in this match. And just when Vic thinks he's getting somewhere with this Drapion, Sean's got the Quagsire to wall it with Unaware. And like I was saying with that Electros, it's going to come in here on a nice predicted Drift Bloom switch in. And right when you think he can go for a nice and easy Volt Switch, no, he's one step ahead. Hidden Power Ice for that Flygon. Get out of here. You're done. But Vic's not out of this game. He looks like he's taking a pretty bad Will-O-Wisp, but on that turn, he predicts it, goes for the Facade with the Scrappy to hit the Ghost type. Great prep. But, yeah, in the end, it looked like Sean really came out through with this one. He had the really creative physical attacking Venusaur set with Petal Blizzard, Earthquake, Knockoff, just to clean up the game here. Really glad to see him coming with creative sets and keeping the weather from being stale.
In our final match of Week 4, it's Conor West taking on Joshua.
With this match being played so late in the week, I just had a feeling that both these players were plotting something nasty, and by God, I was right. Mismagius with a nasty plot. Now let me tell you something. With the coverage that this Pokemon gets with Nasty Plot, huge threat. Huge underrated threat. But as we'll see, Conor West is actually able to withstand this barrage of offense. He's able to get that Toxic off, and he's able to waste some pretty good turns. He does unfortunately have a slow Sceptile, which I'm a little weary on, but he is properly stalling this thing out. He's able to live a hit with the Carbink and get the screens going. Josh actually switches the Mismagius out, which I think was a mistake. As you see, those Stealth Rocks are up. Mismagius is now dead on arrival. But now it's Conor's turn to Nasty Plot. And let's see how Josh reacts. Well, unfortunately, Josh reacts poorly. He begins sacking Pokemon left, right, and center. Which when he should have done, he should have gone Talonflame and began U-turning. U-turn into his sack. You're getting damage off. You only have to sack one Pokemon because Mr. Mime does not have the best defense. I think with one U-turn and a Flare Blitz, Mr. Mime would have been down and you would have had way more Pokemon to spare. But this Mr. Mime actually collects 4 kills here, which is very impressive. Unfortunately, Josh is down to just a Talonflame, and Gastrodon is just going to be able to eat up any hit it has to offer. This game's over. Honestly, a huge win. Very entertaining match. Underrated game of the week, in my opinion.
It is now time to get into the kill leaderboard. This is something we're going to start doing with this episode and every episode going forward. We're going to monitor the performance of the Pokemon that the players are using, just to see how dominant some of these Pokemon truly have been in their matches. And with Week 4, we got the Sword Division. Williams Metagross is the top of the food chain right now. 11 kills and 2 deaths. Just an absolute beast in the past 2 weeks of competition for William. Then in second place, we have Shield Division with Reggie Savali Dark. 10 kills, 2 deaths. Third place, we're jumping back over to Sword Division with Florian's Arctozolt, 9 kills, 1 death. And then fourth place, jumping back again to the Shield Division with Jared's Regirock, 8 kills and 1 death. Just a lot of impressive stats here from these Pokemon so far, with only 4 weeks of competition so far in this tournament. Calvin, what do you make of these stats here?
Well, we're already seeing some patterns as far as the offense goes and how it's reflecting the kill leaderboard. Williams Metagross this week was able to pull off a very successful Rock Polish Weakness Policy sweep against Hayden, which netted him 5 kills on top of his kills that he's been gaining every week. Very successful sweep that just jumped him straight to the number 1 spot. But actually, it was Jared that pulled off this type of sweep a little earlier against Laurel, where he was able to Rock Polish and get his Weakness Policy off and sweep her. So with 8 kills, that is, not nothing to mess around with. Regirock has definitely been a huge threat this tournament. Looking over at second place, though, Savali Dark has actually been in the top spot from the get-go, from his Week 1 sweep against Connor Peterson when he was able to Swords Dance and get a nice clean 6-0 victory. And number 3rd on the spot here, Florian's Arctozolt is from this week. He actually only had 3 kills prior to his 4th week here when he was able to get, that amazing 6-0 sweep against Blade. So a lot of big sweeps, which has just propelled all these guys to the top. But it's really cool to see how the guys are, utilizing some interesting creative sets. And honestly, I'm really happy to see a Pokemon like Reggie Rock and Silvally Dark at the top of the kill leaderboard. It's really unexpected.
Yeah, unexpected and interesting to see. And like you said, Reggie Silvally Dark has pretty much been the top of this kill leaderboard throughout this entire tournament. And one thing it really depends on the matches. Like, really, at any point in time, another Pokemon can jump up into the list. And that's what makes this kind of stat so interesting, is the fact that it can just change, and who knows what kind of things are going to come from it. So we'll have to keep monitoring in the weeks to come. It is now that time to get into the standings. Let's see how things are shaping up after another week 4 of competition. And as we can see here, we got a bit more stats provided on this sheet now. We can actually see the win-loss records and the differentials as well, to kind of give some context as to why these players are in the positions that they're in. So in the Sword Division, we got Matthew and yourself, Calvin, still undefeated. Matthew showing an impressive plus 16 differential there, and you're right behind him there with a plus 9. And of course, on the Shield side of things, Jonas and Reggie are undefeated as well, 4-0, showing some impressive plus 17 differentials. And any thoughts from what you see here on these standings?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. It's only 4 undefeated players now. There's some pretty huge shakeups on the Shield side. Laurel was actually able to take down Robin in a very intense and crazy matchup. So Robin's now he is now defeated. And also, Jared was knocked down from being undefeated, except this was done by Simon in a very great showcase of a Stoutland sand sweep. So some pretty crazy upsets. But also, if you look a little closely, you'll see, wait, that's not a typo. There's 2 people tied for first. That's right. It's Jonas and Reggie. So, make sure that you guys are keeping your eye on both of those players. Jonas isn't the only one in the spotlight. Reggie is proven to be just as much of a threat on the Shield division. And honestly, when those 2 Titans battle, that's going to be a match I have to see live. But looking down as well, there is 3 players without a win on the Shield side still. Chris, Brian, Norman. I will say Brian got really close this week against Jonas. And Chris, oh man, he got crit again, so he missed out on another win. But he's having really close, good games. So honestly, the standings are not reflecting his abilities as a player. And Norman, well, that's a tough team to carry yourself in a highly competitive tournament like this. I'm not sure if he anticipated so much competition in the NCPL, but we pride ourselves on having very strong players, and bringing gimmicky teams obviously isn't panning out.
Yeah, I think another thing. Sorry to cut you off here, Calvin. Another thing to look at as well is that for the last few weeks we've been talking about, Shield Division has this really big gap between top players and lower players, and Sword Division is much more competitive. But looking at these stats right now, we see the Sword Division is actually a little bit more spaced out in the top 4 spots, like our playoff spots. It's like Matthew's in top place, and we got you, Florian, and William all with a plus 9 differential, and the next position is Sean there with a plus 1. Whereas on the Shield side of things, we're seeing that it's actually a bit more muddled up with, like, once you get Laurel, Jared, all those other players are kind of involved there. So it's actually becoming a bit more competitive for those top spots.
I agree. Shield is actually becoming very interesting this last week, especially with a lot of those upsets. But even on the Sword side, even though it's starting to look a little more fragmented, there's actually some really crazy ties that are making kind of these mini little competitive subsections in the tournament. Like, you look at that 3rd place spot with Flo and William, they're perfectly tied. You look at Sean and Vikram, perfectly tied, and just waiting for someone to fall out of a playoff spot so they can come in and snatch it up. Even Hayden and Lewis, they're down there in 8th, but those are both really strong players that just haven't really had the best creativity or just the best matchups or what have you. But there's lots of competition across the board. It's honestly very crazy.
Yeah, and I think that's just it. It's just showing that maybe there is a bit of a spread there, but really at any given moment with any of these matches, someone can wind up with a 6-0 win or whatever it is, and they jump right back up to being within that competition, within the grasp of being in the playoffs, and ultimately trying to vie for the Hall of Fame spot at the end of the season. I think looking forward now, though, in next week coming up in competition, we got a lot of big key matches. I for one, am really excited to see Jared and Robin. I think that is a huge match between two top players in the Shield division, and I just can't wait to see what's going to go down there and who's going to kind of come out on top of that one.
I agree. Those are two very strong players. You got third and fourth place there in Shield. Another match I think is going to be really cool is actually going to be Laurel versus Reggie. Reggie is he's number one. He's undefeated. But hey, Laurel took down a Titan last week. Who's to say she can't do it again? She's got a crazy offensive team, and I don't know. I think she might have what it takes.
I don't know if I agree with you on that one, but it'll definitely be interesting to see for sure what happens with that. On the sword side, though, we got Florian against Sean, which I know we were talking about that before we recorded here, and I think that's a big match for this next week. He was kind of on the downswing, but he's been picking up some momentum in the last couple of weeks, and I think this is a really big opportunity for him to kind of strike and put himself right into that playoff spot like we just touched on by looking at those standings.
I agree, and honestly, this is kind of like getting a little deja vu. Flo versus Sean, Jonas versus Brian. Didn't we just have this match on the Shield division side? That's right, this is the same Sun versus Ice matchup. Except in this instance, I would argue that this is a closer matchup as far as player skills concerned, and as far as the team quality. Sean's has Venusaur to rely on as opposed to Victor Bell, which gives Sean a pretty cool advantage as far as just the things that Venusaur is able to do, and I think it does it a little better than Victor Bell. And Sean's a pretty solid player overall. I don't know. I think this is going to be a very great matchup. But yeah, beyond that, I don't really think there's any other matches that we're looking forward to here.
Whoa. Are you serious? I've just been looking at the schedule here, and another big, huge key match that I'm sure you don't want to talk about because you're shaking in your boots, but it is you against my man Blade. And that is a huge match in my opinion. This is a big opportunity for Blade to go against one of the top players in this league, a seasoned vet, one of the OG players in this league, and I think maybe you're overlooking Blade here. What's the deal?
Well, I'm glad you're rooting for your boy Blade, but he's shown that he's definitely on the novice end of the spectrum here. His team's got some problems, and he didn't make any trades, so unless he can make up for kind of his matchup in team building, which I'm not quite sure he can overcome me in that aspect, I feel pretty confident that I've got him wrapped in almost every category.
Wow. Unbelievable. Who are you to doubt Blade? That is absolutely ridiculous. I hope that Blade brings it to you this week and he kicks your ass and hands you your first loss of this season. That would be a great story. And that's what I'm rooting for. Don't doubt Blade. Let's hashtag it. Let's get it trending right now. Anyway, aside from all this banter between me and Calvin here, let's let Blade settle that for himself with Calvin this week. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We're going to end things with the game of the week like we always do. This week is Sean against Vikram. Sean's second week in a row winning game of the week, showing what a great player he's been lately. And yeah, that's pretty much it for us here. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Your Pokemon have been rested up, and we hope to see you soon.